What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is day 11 of all Imperial Beer Theme Month here on the channel. The beer I'm reviewing today, once again, comes from Jackie O's Pub and Brewery, and they are out of Athens, Ohio, and this is their Bourbon Barrel Brick Kiln, the 2024 release. So this is a Barleywine-Style Ale aged in bourbon barrels. It comes in at 12.7% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in time of review. This bottle is just under 7 months old. I'm going to give a huge thanks and shout out once again to a very good friend of mine and a viewer of the channel, Curtis, for this beer, so huge thanks to him. In the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that Curtis sent my way, and he sent me a lot of awesome beer, including 2 barrel-aged barley wines from Jackie O's, so yes and yes. Jackie O's, one of my favorite breweries when it comes to their barrel game, one of the best in the country in my opinion, and full disclosure, I've actually had this one before, and I actually had the base beer back in the mid-2010s. I want to say it was either 2014 or 15. I had this. I also had the base, as I said, and they were both delicious. The barrel-aged was definitely more my speed and a better beer in my opinion, but it's been around 10, 11 years since I've had this one, and I'm looking forward to it. I think I have a bottle of each in my cellar, so if I do get Viewer's Choice Cellar Sunday off the ground soon, I'll try to remember to put it into the voting to see maybe if I can review this one later this year. And when I mean this one, I mean like the 2014 or 15 vintage I have in the cellar. So they have a spiel on the side. We will read at the end. I haven't looked at it, but I'm sure it talks about what's going on here. I do think, though, the spiel that I read off their website, it was on tap, 20 months in the barrel for this beer. So you're talking almost 2 years in the barrel. I always forget how it goes like this. Logo. It goes like that, Joe. Anyway, I'm just super stoked. I mean, Jackie O's is fantastic, and it was funny because Curtis was like, "Oh, I don't know if I should have sent you, 2 barrel-aged barley wines from Jackie O's," and I'm like, "Yeah, you should have, 100%." And he a couple days ago he mentioned that he had this one. He thought it was delicious, so I was like, "You know what? I'm going to review it this month." He's like, "Oh, don't rush. You don't have to." No, Curtis, I do. That's the whole point. I do. Especially after you said it was delicious. I have to, get back here and see, is it still delicious to my palate? Because I remember loving this one. So, yeah, this has that dark, murky, kind of super dark brown mahogany color. If you have a barley wine or an old ale or something like that that has that murky kind of, shout out to Matt over at Massive Beer Reviews, or Massive Beers, I should just say. He always said the brown doo-doo water. And that's kind of what this looks like. Maybe a little bit more like of a reddish kind of tinge to it, like mahogany, but it kind of looks like that. Had about I'd say a quarter of a finger of this straight up khaki colored head, maybe like a light tan. You're not really generating it because it is almost 13%. There are alcohol legs on the side. I wouldn't say sheets, definitely legs. You can tell that this has booze in it, but it looks nice. Anyway, let's get a nose on it. Yep. Oh yeah, this smells like someone took sugar daddies, combined them with raisinets, threw them into an almost 13% beer, and then I drink it and I love it. That's exactly what it smells like. Maybe a bourbon soaked the sugar babies and the or did I say sugar daddies, sugar babies? I'm saying specifically sugar babies, the little like droplets that are kind of like, they look like raisinets, but they're caramel. Those, along with raisinets in here, because it's a lot of caramel, toffee, caramelized sugars with raisin, a little bit of prune, but then it's like bourbon soaked. Now, if you put those in bourbons, they're just going to disintegrate. But let's just say if they had infused with a bourbon flavor, that's kind of what I'm getting in the nose. Yeah, tons of caramelized sugar. There's vanilla and oak from the barrel. There's definitely a spirit here. You can tell this is barrel aged of some sort. I would say, again, I always just default to peppery caramel bourbon. It just has that kind of barrel aspect that is very apparent in a lot of these beers. It's definitely here. The raisins, the plums, a little bit of like I'd say pruny plum. Raisins, prune, and plum. Maybe a very light like chocolate as well. It smells awesome. It's Jackie O's. Was I gonna think that it didn't smell awesome? Unless this beer is severely oxidized or it is infected, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a delicious beer. And the nose would indicate that is indeed the case. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. Thanks again, Curtis. It's so fucking good. It's so good. I don't know. I feel like it's cheating reviewing these beers on my channel. Because, you know, when it comes to reviews of anything in life, don't pigeonhole to beer reviews. Let's just say, you know, there's a lot of people on YouTube that do food reviews, tech reviews, reaction channels, music reviews, this and that. It's all, you can try to objectify whatever you're reviewing by saying, you know, stylistically, this and that. But beer is subjective like many other things in life. And if somebody is a barley wine fiend like myself, who loves barrel-aged English-style barley wines, and you give me a beer from Jackie O's, who I think is a fantastic brewery when it comes to barrel-aged beers, and then you put this in front of me, there is like a 0.3% chance I'm going to say anything negative about this beer that would severely impact my overall feeling about this one. So with that said, this is fucking delicious. That's what this is. You got to break it apart. So I will say that all that said, bit thin. A lot of these Jackie O's beers, you know, going through the barrels, they're going to thin out a little bit, but this is like low to medium full bodied. I'd like to see this full bodied or at least a little bit bigger. So it's a bit thin. So body is slightly disappointing from that aspect. Still a really nice body. It's not watery. It's not super thin. It's just, you got to try to break it apart. Break it down, I should say. Break it apart. No, we're breaking it down. The mouthfeel, this is mild to moderately carbonated, probably smack dab in the middle. It's softer than some people might think, but I think for a style like this, it works. It's smooth, a little bit of creaminess. So the mouthfeel is better than the body. Both are really good. It's just, they're not upper echelon. Let's say that. The taste, the nose carried over. Listen, this is front to back, sugar babies, Raisinets, sugar daddies, combine them all. Like they're all there. It's caramel, it's toffee, a little bit of molasses, definitely vanilla, but like vanilla from the seemingly from the base, maybe not. Maybe it's seeping in from the barrel, but I'm getting a stronger vanilla than I usually do. It's all that at the forefront, and then as it continues on through the palate, I get a little bit of like I said, a light kind of like cocoa powder, baker's chocolate. It's not a sweet chocolate, but it has more of like a chocolate character that is like unsweetened. So an unsweetened chocolate, we'll say. But on the second half of the palate is where the barrel hits. It's bourbon. It has that peppery kind of spicy bourbon vibe to it. The dark fruits kind of intensify as it goes through the palate, if that makes any sense. There's even a little bit of a cola vibe in here, which is different. But the finish is what kind of wins me over with this beer and kind of reminds me of when I originally had it. It just has a beautiful finish to it. It's like all that caramelized sugar goodness, the dark fruit, and then that slight cola vibe with a vanilla tinge. The barrel's there, very complex, but it's not a super clean beer, and there's a lot of lingering flavors, but it's a beautiful flavor characteristic that is lingering, which I could just take a sip on this every 5 to 10 minutes and be satiated because that finish is so long. And it's like I'm still tasting stuff that I took a sip 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute ago. It's still lingering on the palate. It's beautiful from that aspect. Is it boozy? It is. My chest is on fire. There's really no like ethanol flavor on the palate, but it does have just like an intensity that lets me know this is a huge beer. Would I say 12.7%? Maybe not, but it's definitely in that like 11, 12 range if I was doing it blind. But yeah, my chest is on fire for sure. While it's definitely sweet, it's not cloying. It does finish with a semi-dry finish. There's a mild bitterness. It leans sweet, like 60-40 or 65-35. The sweetness definitely leads the way, and then you have some dryness, a little bit of bitterness to mix in. But you know, beers like this, especially the English style, which I assume this is it. This is the English style because most of their barley wines are. It's just such an easy sipper. Again, this is, I've come to realize that I feel like barley wines and old ales are old people beers. And I say that because, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, you know, that's an old person's candy. Like when people talk, and I'm sure you can relate, if you have a grandma or a mother that would have like hard candies or candies in their house in a bowl, you get Werther's Original, right? You could say Werther's Original for this, or you'd have like the little strawberry candies with like the actual strawberry on the wrapping. But there's to me, like, this style screams that it's caramelized sugars, it's the Werther's Original, it's the bullseye candy, so like the caramel, the vanilla, it's that. But as an adult beverage, that definitely is confectionery to some degree, but this isn't like a pastry stout or something. It just has sweeter notes from that. And that's why I say, again, sugar babies, sugar daddies, raisinets, it's one of those styles that you get a lot of that. And again, a lot of people, I don't know too many people under the age of like 40 that are like, dude, give me, sugar babies or sugar daddies. It's usually the 30 plus crowd and typically 40 plus that are like, give me those. But I could be wrong. You could be watching this, you're like 23 years old and you're like, I love sugar daddies. I love raisinets. I got you. I don't know. I'm just waffling out and rambling like I usually do. So how do we sum this beer up? It's fucking delicious. Okay. It's a great beer. Not mind-blowing. First time I had this, probably mind-blowing, but I've had so many barrel-aged barley wines over the year that it doesn't blow me away like I would. Again, the first time I had this one back in 2014, 15, yeah, I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. Now, no, but it's still delicious, and don't let that get lost, or it's not lost on me that this is still an awesome beer. One more sip and we'll give it a firm rating. Ooh, just got a bigger hit of the bourbon on that sip. Again, I was talking for like 3 or 4 minutes. As this beer opens up, this is out of my darker beer fridge at 54 degrees Fahrenheit. But as this opens up in the glass and kind of it just sits, and I've noticed this a lot of times too when I turn off the camera. If I come back to these beers, what happens is, they open up a lot more in the glass as you drink on them, especially when they come to room temperature. This, I think, is going to be a little bit sweeter, but also I think more things are going to come forefront. It's going to be more complex, but as is, this is delicious. Bourbon Barrel Brick Kiln, the 2024 release, vintage, whatever you want to call it. High 4.5 out of 5, 4.55. Awesome beer. Again, this has probably got like a 4.75 back when I had this for the first time. Again, a little bit more mind-blowing, not as mind-blowing now, but I do appreciate Curtis sending this one to me to revisit it, because it is an absolutely delicious bourbon barrel English barley wine that hits all the notes that it needs to. It's just delicious, and you owe it to yourself to give this a go if you've never had anything from Jackie O's and you like barley wines, you like old ales, you like styles like that. Check this one out for sure. Now, they do have the spiel here. It says, brewed in the English barley wine tradition. That's why reading is fundamental. And I probably should have read this one before saying, I think this is the English barley wine. Anyway, and aged in bourbon barrels for 20 months. Like I said, I read that. It says, Bourbon Barrel Brick Kilns, deep mahogany hue. Yes, for sure. Gives away to aromas and flavors of English toffee. I did say toffee. Caramel, yes, and raisin. Yes, so that's where sugar daddies, sugar babies, raisinets come into play. Extended aging in bourbon barrels add deep notes of vanilla and oak to the beer. Yes. Named in tribute to the Southeastern Ohio brick industry. I did not know that. The kilns of Athens Brick Company, which was established in 1890, once operated down the street from our current production brewery. I had no idea. It says in partnership with Southeast Ohio History Center. Yeah, that's why you got to read the side, Joe. Nothing else on here? No? Just government warning. Yeah, so 4.55 out of 5. Price point availability. Curtis did not tell me how much he paid for this one. However, when I go to Ohio and pick stuff up and I see Jackie O's barrel aged, if it's like a normal barrel aged beer like this and not like some kind of crazy special one, usually like 12, 13 bucks for a bottle, which I assume, Curtis paid somewhere around that. And then if it's a special release, usually 15, 16. So for 11 to, let's say this is 13 at the most, all day, every day. That's $1 an ounce-ish. I'm okay with that. Yeah, like for a beer like this, I gave 4.55. I'm fine with it. Availability, it's Jackie O's. I don't know if they get outside of Ohio, but I would say if you can get your hands on Jackie O's, and specifically their barrel-aged program, a lot of the bigger beers, but also their wild ales are good. I haven't had those in a while. Seek them out. They're fantastic. Their core range, I haven't had a ton from them. They're okay. They're solid. They're decent. But this is where they really shine. And like when I say they're one of the best breweries in the U.S. when it comes to their barrel game, I'm not lying. I would put them up there with almost anybody. They do fantastic stuff. I know the old brewmaster, I think, left and he opened up a brewery in California. Remember Sierra Hotel, a good friend of mine, a viewer of the channel, telling me about that. But they still just make fantastic barrel-aged beers. And every time I go to Ohio, I seek out their stuff. I always come home with at least a couple bottle, or at least one bottle, usually multiples. And yeah, so I can't wait to review the other one that he sent me was Endolith, which is again barrel-aged barley wine. I'll review that probably later this month or maybe sometime in February, but I'll get to them at some point. So huge thanks to Curtis for this beer. If you've had this beer before, whether the barrel age or the base, if you had anything from Jackie O's, post in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm going to shut this one down. As I continue to drink on it, I'm starting to feel the booze, definitely warming in the chest, but I'm just starting to feel it. I drank enough of it where it's starting to impact me a little bit. So by the time I finish the rest of this bottle, I'm going to be on cloud nine and feeling great. And I think that's when you drink a beer like this, that you expect that. So yeah. I'm going to shut this one down. Till the next one. Cheers. Thanks again, Curtis. Cheers.